Recently, my husband and I decided to interview trainers to get, our bodies right and tight for the summer. So I asked a friend of mine and she referred me to this trainer that we'll call David. And I noticed a couple of things about my interaction with David right away that kind of threw up red flags from a sales maven perspective. I mean, overall, he was a good trainer, but from a sales interaction piece, he did a couple of things that kind of set off some red flags, and I'll focus on that today. First and foremost, during our interaction, he did a lot less listening than he did a lot more talking than he did listening. And what I call that is heart-centered listening versus head-centered listening, meaning that when you're listening from the head, you're thinking about what you want to say next instead of focused on probing questions that you can ask that potential client or customer. So when you're heart-centered listening, you're focusing intently on the heart. What's next about them? What other information do I want to find out about them that ultimately will give me the ability to provide additional value for them? So it's a skill that's difficult to master, but if you think about focusing on the heart, focusing on what I want to ask them next to probe versus what I want to say next to get them to buy the sale, then you're moving in the right direction. Sales is more about listening than it is talking every day of the week, and you'll be a really successful sales maven when you decide that. There's a couple other things that I thought didn't go quite well with our interaction that ultimately may have had me focus on him and hire him as a trainer. The other thing he didn't do too well is he focused on money. And when I walked through the door, money as an objection wasn't something that entered the picture for me. But he kept saying, well, I know the cost might be a lot, or I know this might be something you can't afford, or we can break it into payments. Before I even shared with him that cost was an issue. And so it started placing doubt in my mind early on that, hey, this may be more expensive than I originally thought. Do I really want to use him? Is there a cheaper option? So lesson number one is don't enter an objection before the client has had a chance to propose that. Let them propose the objections to you, and then you are proactive enough to respond to them because you prepare for them ahead of time. The other thing is he never focused on benefits. He focused on features. And remember this mantra: features tell, but benefits sell every day of the week. So what that really means is a feature gives you a description about a particular product or service, or gives you detailed information about it. So he might have said, as an example, that the gym is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have the newest machinery out here. We have more machines than the average gym. Well, that's great. But if you're saying to yourself, so what to that feature, or so what to that response, then it probably is a feature. So what, you're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What does that do for me as a potential client? Well, that's what you answer. Being available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week really saves you time. It saves you frustration, because I know that I can go to the gym at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning. The other thing, he mentioned a lot of machinery that was available. We have more treadmills than the average gym. Well, great, but what does that do for me? Well, that means you're never waiting for a machine. We always have machines available, and they're the top of the line, so you don't have to worry about them breaking down. So you see how you take those features and you frame them as benefits for the client, so they can see that tangible thing and intangible thing and turn it into something tangible. And then lastly, he didn't use the selling language. And the selling language is all about using those words or phrases that make the customer really put their guard down. You want to use words like investment or agreement. He talked about having a contract. When I think of contracts, I think of attorneys. And sorry for any lawyers out there, but it just kind of sends a chill through me. He also talked about the cost. The cost, if you hear the word cost, has even a harder tone to it. But if you say an investment, I'm making an investment in myself. So my question for you is, have you had any similar interactions like this? And what would you have done differently if you were in David's place? If you notice situations like this, imagine how your customers or potential clients may feel. So as a review, make sure that A, you're using the selling language, that you're using those words like investment and agreement instead of contract and cost. Secondly, make sure that you focus on the benefits of what your particular service or your product is, not on the features. No one cares that you're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until they know what that does for them. And lastly, don't enter an objection into the client interaction or relationship until they bring it up. And then be prepared to respond to those common objections that you hear. I guarantee that if you learn those 3 things, your first interaction with a client will go a lot smoother. So for these and other tips, make sure you check out my website, thesalesmaven.com. And I'm Mimi Brown, and this has been your motivational moment with Mimi. Make it a rock star day.